Raising the potential that we have here, 1 in 4 of our families lives in poverty. Far too many of our children live in poverty. Far too many of our families struggle to just pay the bills, hovering just above the poverty line, but with the same challenges that every family has, to provide medical care for their family and themselves, to get transportation to and from work, and to be able to hopefully provide for the future of their families. And you are bringing attention to those issues in a way that I think resonates, because it's not coming from elected officials, it's not coming from the top down, it's coming from people who know, because of their life experience, because of what they have dedicated themselves to, that we must bridge these gaps. Amen. And that is a message that resonates here in Albany. It resonates with our families. When 60% of minimum wage earners are women, when far too many of our families fall into the gaps, fall into gaps that prevent them from getting child care for their children even when they want to work, prevent them from getting access to good medical care, prevent them from being able to achieve the American dream. What you are talking about is to level the playing field. We still have a long way to go to ensure that every person in our country has the opportunity to succeed. And the gaps that you've identified are those barriers to that success. They are the barriers that our families face every day, but that I am confident that with the work you are doing, with the work that the supporters who have come here today to do, the work that we are committed to continuing to do, that we have every reason to be hopeful and every reason to be optimistic. This is a great country. We can do this. Is it hard? Yes. Are we frustrated? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that we should throw up our hands and be hopeless. We must be hopeful. So look at this group that has come out here to greet you today, and I see hopefulness. I see people who are willing to do the work. I see people who have not given up, but who continue to believe. So thank you for reinforcing that belief, and welcome to the City of Albany.
Thank you, Mayor. The next speaker is from my own local union, the Albany Transit Union. And I was very excited when I got a call from the International to ask us to be partners with the Nuns on the Bus for this occasion. I'd like to present Corey Bixby, President Business Agent of ETU 1321.
I told him I should have been before the mayor. The Amalgamated Transit Union would like to proudly welcome Network Nuns on the Bus, the Mend the Gaps Tour to the capital of New York State, Albany, New York. My name again is Corey Bixby. I'm president of ATU Local 1321, and we represent the 580 members of our local. That's operators, mechanics, supervisors, paratransit, and white-collar workers of the Capital District Transportation Authority. I just want to thank all of you who took the time out of your busy schedule to stop by with us today, our speakers, our community leaders, our political allies, and especially to the Network Nuns on the Bus. In solidarity from the ATU and Local 1321. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. You made me proud. Maybe prouder than the mayor did. Up next, we have from Labor Religion Coalition, the lead organizer. She's going to lead us in prayer and make some remarks. We have Reverend Emily McNeil.
Well, it's such a joy to be gathered here on this such a beautiful day and to have the Nuns on the Bus here with us in the Capitol. This message that they're bringing of mending the gaps is so vital and timely, and it's a message that resonates with us here in New York State. We have the dubious distinction of being the state with the greatest income inequality in the nation. And that means that while the wealth in our state rivals that of most countries, we also have 3 million New Yorkers living in poverty, including 23,000 people right here in Albany. While we have some of the best doctors and medical facilities in the world, almost 500,000 of our undocumented neighbors don't have any access to health insurance. And while we see luxury condos going up in every city in our state, nearly 75,000 New Yorkers sleep in homeless shelters, and tens of thousands more live on the streets or in substandard or overcrowded housing. And these are just a few of the gaps that we see when we look around our communities here in New York State. And they're not just a social or a political or an economic problem, they're a moral problem. But the good news is that these gaps, which leave so many of our families and our communities struggling, are not inevitable. They're a consequence of decisions made and policies implemented. And that means that these gaps can be mended if we can find the collective will to make different decisions and implement different policies. And that's why we're here today. And that's why the Nuns on the Bus are traveling throughout our country, listening to our communities and sharing their vision. That's what it's going to take to mend these gaps, to come together in the city, in our state, and in our country. And I really believe that in order for us to accomplish that great task, we have to tap into something that's deeper than ourselves or any one of our agendas or interests. For many of us, that's rooted in our faiths. But all of us have something within us that tells us about the value of each human life and that motivates us to work for justice. And so I want to invite us all to tap into whatever that is for us as we join together in prayer. Holy One, Spirit of justice and healing, we give you thanks for the community that is gathered here, and especially for the ministry and vision of Sister Simone Campbell and each of the nuns on the bus. We pray that the Spirit present here would catch fire in the city and the state and this country, for we know that there are so many gaps to be mended. And we know that these injustices and inequities go so much deeper than slogans or statistics. They're manifest daily in the lives of your people, millions of our siblings in this state and this country who suffer and struggle unnecessarily because our society has failed to do that which you have called us to do. And so as we gather here this afternoon, we lift all these lives up to you. We pray for those who are hungry and homeless, for the unemployed and those struggling to make ends meet in low-wage jobs. We pray for those who are sick but can't get health care, for those who come to this country seeking a better life only to be demonized, for those targeted and maligned due to the color of their skin, for communities with visions and ideas that have been marginalized by our political system. For all of us who here in the most prosperous country in the history of the world have been left out or left behind. But while we lift up the suffering of our nation to the light of your love, we don't let that suffering go. Because you have taught us that the struggles of any of us are the struggles of all of us. And so we ask that you would give us the courage and the wisdom for the work ahead. That our compassion for one another would be greater than that which divides us. That our patience and persistence would be greater than the discouragement of our adversity. We know that you are with us. So we ask that we would keep the vision clear before us in the days and months and years ahead. That your vision for your people might be realized in this state and in this country that we love. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, having our guest speakers address the crowd. We are leading off with Tanya Landry. She's a client at St. Joseph Place. It's located in Schenectady, New York. It's coordinated by Sister Ann Christie Brink and Sister Linda Neal. St. Joseph Place is an outreach ministry of St. Joseph's Church, a drop-in center serving the Hamilton Hill area. Please welcome Latanja Landry. I'm sorry, Latanja could not make it, and so we're going to move on. All right, I'm going to tell you a little story here. Amanda Monroe is a single mother of two who lives in Albany. As a former fast food worker, she became politicized during the Fight for 15 and has become a strong advocate for the rights of all workers, and particularly women workers, for respect, safety, a living wage, and benefits like paid family leave. Amanda lost her job and has good reason to believe her termination had everything to do with her pregnancy and her organizing activities. But she is still fighting. She is here today with her sons Noah and Ocean. She hopes to share with all of us a glimpse of the difficult daily struggles faced by working families and the reasons why we need to pass the Family Act. Please welcome Amanda Monroe.
Good afternoon. I'm Amanda Monroe. I have my son Noah over here and my son Ocean up here. Like Mark had mentioned, I've been part of the Fight for 15 since the whole thing began about almost, I want to say, 2 years ago. I've had day in and day out struggle ever since I've joined that. Not that my struggle wasn't difficult prior to joining the Fight for 15, because it was. I was making minimum wage and making ends meet even without being part of the Fight for 15. There was still a struggle there. Unfortunately, the struggle had to get worse, and I'm very optimistic. I'm a mom of 2 beautiful children, so positivity rocks on, as it must. But I'm a firm believer in most things need to get worse before they get better, unfortunately. So I am still here, and I'm still standing, and I'm still fighting strong for my 2 children. If I'm not able to stand up and continue the fight for them, then nobody is. So as far as the Fight for 15 and living in poverty, I don't even really feel like I need to say much on that. We can all see on the news and across the world, and the Nuns on the Bus, if they're traveling through countries and states, and they're going to see that all on their own. All they have to do is drive down a few different streets, and they're going to see what it's like to live in poverty. They're going to pass shelters and see what it's like when you have to get kicked out of that shelter at 11 o'clock in the morning and figure out what you're going to do for the day until you can go back to that shelter and get some sleep again. So I'm going to leave that alone for now, and I'm just going to go with the Family Act. My mother, for instance, less than a year ago, last Christmas, my grandmother fell very ill. She's 81 years old, very ill. We almost lost her. God bless, he was with us, and we didn't lose her. But my mother ended up having to use all of her personal time, all of her vacation time, all of her sick time, And she'd been at this job for over 6 years. And they still did not have anything in place to where she could go be by her mother's side in the hospital room. And then when my grandmother got released, she could not go home right away by herself. She needed some rehab. She had to go into a rehabilitation center for about a month, which my mother still was by her side and went every day for her rehabilitation acts and everything that she had to go through during the day. My mother recently had to switch jobs. She lost her job and just recently got another job due to the fact that she had no time left to take. There was absolutely no way. It was either go to work or not have a job. Well, my grandmother's the only person we literally have left in our family. My father passed away, my grandfather passed away, my other grandmother passed away. She's the only person we have left. So who's not going to be by her side? You're going to go to work or you're going to be by your last loved one's side. So guess what? She lost her job and she was by my grandmother's side with, you know, God in the sky looking down on her. She is now home. She is okay. She's on oxygen 24 hours a day. But now my mother struggles because prior to having to switch jobs because of not having a paid Family Leave Act, she recently bought a new house because she sold the house that her and my father lived in. So now she's working every weekend, Monday through Saturday. She can't go to camp like we did every summer since I was a child because she's got to work every Sunday or every Saturday to make up for what she lost while she was not working. Unfortunately, I lost my job prior to having Noah. But if I did not lose my job prior to having Noah, I would have lost it while having Noah because I was in the fast food industry and there's nothing in place to say that I can go out on maternity leave, have this amazing experience of having a child and bringing a new baby into the world and be able to go back to the job that I was loyal to, that I was dedicated to, that I worked 40 hours a week for in minimum wage and still couldn't support them. But I was strong and I would go every day and you can count on me to show up and I'm responsible and I go above and beyond when it is something that I'm supposed to be doing. But you can't hold my job for me so I can have a baby. At the end of the day, right is right, wrong is wrong. And as Mayor Sheehan said, this is the capital. We're the capital of New York. There's got to be things that we can do. There's got to be things we can put into place. We all need to stick together, stand strong, get as many people as you can possibly get. This is a great outcome, but this whole park should be filled with people today. This entire park to that big building you see behind you should be stacked full of people supporting us in what we're supposed to be doing. People deserve to be with their grandmothers or their mothers or their children. If God forbid I had a decent paying job or any job at this point, and my son starts kindergarten in September, he falls off a swing at school, breaks his arm, I'm supposed to stay at work or go to the hospital with my 5-year-old or lose my job. Well, again, looks like I'm back down under because I'm leaving my job and I'm going to the hospital. So, we've done the work. We've got the Paid Family Leave Act passed here in New York. Unfortunately, it is not being passed until 2018, and it is only for New York. And it can't be just for New York. Everybody in this world matters. Everybody. You're black, you're Asian, you're purple, and you got yellow polka dots because of some weird disease. I don't care what you are. You matter. Your family matters. Your children matter. Just stick together. I mean, we've got to do this. We've got to do it for you. We've got to do it for you. We've got to do it for the kids. We've got to do it for everybody. The world is one world. There's not half and half. Hopefully me speaking out and hopefully me continuing the fight and continuing saying what matters to me and my family and what is the most important in the world, not New York, the world, is peace. and harmony and having joy and love for each other. All the negativity and all of the hate and everything that's going on in the world, I'm sorry to say, it's nonsense. If we could all have the minds of a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, we would have a much better place. That kid up there loves everybody. He doesn't care what color you are, what nationality, where you're from, nothing. What happens to the time when you're born and your parents are teaching you that everybody is an individual person, everybody is the same. Doesn't matter what you look like, what you believe in, everybody is a human being. And everybody deserves the same laws, the same rights, and the same respect. That's all I really can say.
Thank you for having me. Thank
you. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Let me thank you. Give you another hug. I'll give you another hug. Makes you wonder what world we're living in. Yes, we do. Our next speakers, you've heard many stories about migrant worker issues. Well, we have 2 of them right here in Amsterdam. You know, you wonder about the people living in the shadows of your own communities, and certainly migrant workers all across the country are living in these shadows. Well, today we have from Amsterdam, we have Eloy and Marta Jimenez. Please come up and tell us your story. Tell us your story. Oh, I guess they have a couple more.
¿Usted me va a traducir? Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Mi nombre es Eloy Jiménez. Vengo de Ámsterdam. Tengo viviendo 18 años en Ámsterdam. Soy un farm worker. He venido como todos los inmigrantes lo han hecho durante los últimos 100 años. Durante los últimos 100 años para mejorar la calidad de vida en mi país.
My name is Eloy Jimenez and I'm a farm worker in Amsterdam, New York. I've lived here in the United States for 18 years, and as all immigrants over the last 100 years, I've come looking for a better life for my loved ones.
Y sí, he mejorado la vida de mi familia en mi país, pero el costo ha sido muy fuerte.
I have improved the life for my family in Mexico, but at great cost.
Las condiciones que me ha tocado de trabajo, principalmente de trabajo, han sido trabajar 12 horas diarias durante 6 días a la semana, sin derecho a días festivos, sin vacaciones, y en ocasiones me ha tocado trabajar con algún ciudadano que en la primera semana de la persona que es ciudadana gana el doble que yo gano, trabaja menos que yo y es injusto.
The working conditions that apply to me are very difficult. I'm obligated to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, no holidays, no vacation. And in fact, after 18 years of working on the dairy farm, an American citizen who would be hired today would earn double what I earn working fewer hours.
Es por eso que estoy aquí. Pedimos una reforma migratoria para recibir las mismas condiciones y para reintegrarnos a la sociedad.
And that's precisely why I'm here today, to call for a comprehensive immigration reform so that our working conditions may be improved and that we may take our place in society.
Gracias por escucharme.
Thank you for listening.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Mi nombre es Marta Jiménez. Estoy aquí con mi familia, mis dos hijas, mi hermano y Sister Christy.
Good afternoon. My name is Marta Jimenez. I'm here with my family, my two daughters, my brother, and Sister Christy.
Yo llegué a los Estados Unidos hace 9 años para apoyar a mi esposo, ya que como ustedes escucharon, el horario de trabajo no les permitía tener una alimentación adecuada.
I arrived 9 years ago to support, to be at the side of my husband, because as you've heard about the extremely long hours of work, he couldn't cook nutritious meals for himself. He wasn't eating right.
Pero para poder venir a este país, yo tuve que decidir entre apoyar a mi esposo o dejar a mi hija.
But to decide to come to this country, I had to choose between supporting my husband or leaving my daughter behind.
No fue fácil decidir, pero por fin llegué a este país, en el cual los años que yo llevo aquí no he podido traer a mi hija ni poderla abrazar.
It wasn't an easy decision, but I'm here, and over the last 9 years, I have neither been able to bring my daughter here nor to hug her, give her a hug.
Y mi sueño más grande es que se realice una reforma migratoria para poder reunificar a mi familia.
My greatest dream is that we achieve an immigration reform so that I can be reunited, we can be reunited as a family with my daughter.
Y el precio de pagar de estar en este país no ha sido fácil. Nosotras las mujeres de trabajadores de farmer hemos tenido que vivir en un aislamiento total y con el miedo a la deportación.
The price of being here has not been easy because we, women, spouses of farm workers, live in complete isolation.
Y vuelvo a reiterar que mi anhelo más grande es la reforma migratoria, ya que el tiempo que llevamos aquí nosotros hemos contribuido a este país pagando impuestos.
And so I repeat, my deepest desire is that we achieve immigration reform because we are here contributing to society and we have always paid taxes.
Gracias por su atención y yo creo y confío en Dios que mis peticiones serán escuchadas.
Thank you for your attention, and I believe that our God will give an answer to these prayers.
Thank you. Wow. You know, I think we have a presidential candidate that wants to build walls. I think we got some walls of injustice to tear down. We have enough walls. Exactly, Reverend Willie, exactly. And speaking of Reverend Willie, he's going to be our next speaker. It's another story that touched me personally. Up until recently, not too many years ago, we had very poor bus service to the south end of Albany, an area that needed it the most. And Willie and his coalition from A Village Inc. Got together and they lobbied the right people and had the bus service improved and provided to, like I said, the people who need it the most, the people with no other choices. You know, most of us have choices when it comes to transportation. These people didn't. So I'd like to bring up Reverend Willie White from my village.
Thank you so much. I just have to do a small correction. It's not what Reverend Willie. It's just Willie. But you know, for a while, people have been saying that, and maybe that's a hint, but I doubt it. But first of all, I'd like to thank everybody who came out here today to enjoy this beautiful weather and hear the cause of justice being spreaded throughout our community. It just proves that if you look at this list behind us, it proves that we are inextricably linked to each other. Our lives are bound together by a certain destiny. And if we continue to fight together, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. And I'll give you a small example of that. Dr. King said, if we protest courageously and yet with dignity and the love of God in our hearts, when the history books are written in the future, somebody will have to say, there lived a race of people, of black people, of white people, of Muslim and Hispanics, of people who had the moral courage to stand up for their rights, and thereby they injected a new meaning into the veins of history and civilization. So I say to you today, my brothers and sisters, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You see, we just want to do God's will, and He's allowed us to go to the mountain, and we've looked over, and we've seen the promised land. Amen. Dr. King said, I might not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. Do you see, I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Thank you so much on that. So I got a good example of Dr. King, because he also said, if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody that he's traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. And I think that's the deep philosophy of a village. We came together as an ordinary people in a community where we knew that when we walked out of our door, we saw the problems and issues. We saw the injustices in our communities. It was something that we had to face every day, but we had to make a very important decision. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to be part of the solution, or will I continue to be part of the problem? And I woke up one morning and I said, I want to be part of the solution. So I went to my computer and I made up a simple flyer, and it basically said, let's have a community discussion about how we can collectively come together to address some of the issues in our community. And one of the main issues in our community was a lack of public transportation right in our community. And there had been a 20-year fight to get a bus to come from Pearl Street up to 1.3 miles, a 5-minute ride up to Albany Medical Center and connecting hospitals. For 20 years, CDTA ignored the call. And the village decided to embark on a petition. We went out and we amassed 1,500 signatures. We ran about 20-some newspaper articles, about 10 or 15 TV ads. And the people spoke. The people spoke. Everywhere we went to ask for a signature, people was excited to write that signature. They said, "Can I sign twice?" I said, "Once is sufficient. Once is sufficient." And so after 1,500 signatures, all the newspaper articles and the TV ads, one day we got that wonderful, wonderful phone call from the executive director of CDTA and say, "Guys, enough is enough. Come in, let's talk about how we get that bus up Morton Avenue." Because people in my community had to take a bus 45 minutes out of the way just to get to the connecting hospitals, when it's only 1.3 miles right up the street, 5 minutes. But because of the economic depravity in my community, most people couldn't afford a taxi, but people were sick. So that 1.3 miles up the hill, we saw people in wheelchair, battery power running out. We saw literally people having strokes, heat strokes coming up the hill. And it's a treacherous hill if you ever traveled that hill. But we fought hard as a community, as a people, not just in the South End, but throughout the city of Albany and connecting towns. People signed a petition and said, "You're right, you guys you need that bus." And finally, on November 9th, 13th, Ms. Claver, I think it was, it's coming up on 5 years. And I just want to say that after that struggle, that fight, CDTA is one of our best partners today. We embrace that. We embrace that. You know, sometimes you have to fight people. Thank you. And make them see the light. The mistake that a village made is we didn't ask for commissions on that bus, because we got a letter a couple of months later that said it's the most traveled route in the whole city of Albany. And so we missed out on the commission, but we're happy that it's a connected belt that serves 3 communities, Arbor Hill, West Hill, and South End. And people are happy because they can go grocery shopping. They can get easy access to the hospitals now. We're excited about that. But we had some partners. It wasn't just the village. We had partners like in Trinity Alliance, Westminster Presbyterian Church, which is my church. My pastor would be proud of me for saying that. We had former members of the city planning office who came to work with us, and regular community members from around the city of Albany. The bus was a hard fight. We actually did I don't know if most of you guys probably heard of that NPR story. So NPR came to interview me, and they said, "Well, you're going to have an audience of about 13 million people." I said, "Really? Can they help us?" And they said, "Yes, they'll speak out to you." But it was a wonderful, wonderful story. But the village is fighting on many different fronts. We're fighting environmental issues in our community. We're right now doing a healthcare survey with the School of Public Health to talk about environmental justice issues, or injustice, I should say, in our community. Because we have a housing complex called Ezra Prentice. And Ezra Prentice sits in the far south side of the South End, near the Port of Albany. They sit smack dead in the middle of 787. There's the bomb trains there. There's the Port of Albany. There's the county waste there. There's diesel trucks. We did a truck study 2 weeks ago where we counted 1,000 trucks letting out diesel fuel right in this community. A couple of us got sick. We had to put masks on because the diesel fuel and the smoke from that was just choking. But there's 200 kids that live in that complex under the age of 14. And they're oblivious to what they're breathing every single day of their lives. But we've embarked on this survey with the help of some great partners from the School of Public Health, and we're bringing about the results. Right now, we've did less than half of the apartments. Out of 179 apartments, we've did 68, and we've found over 40 cases of asthma, emphysema, thyroid problems, cancer in some cases, all kind of respiratory issues in that community. But there's no correlation. Nobody wants to make the correlation. But you know what? Dr. King said, keep fighting, keep pushing forward, keep getting it. You know, I'm happy to see my second favorite congressman in the whole wide world. And he knows Congressman John Lewis is my first, and they happen to be very, very good friends. He made a dream of mine come true because July 9th, 2010 or 11, he brought Congressman John Lewis to the city of Albany, and the village hosted Congressman John Lewis. But I'm going to finish up by saying, by talking about one more injustice that we feel that's in our community. How can you have a prosperous and a vibrant community when hundreds and hundreds of kids in a neighborhood with no community center? Go figure. We're meeting with the mayor, we're discussing these things, but there's some injustices, and if we all keep fighting together, we can overcome these injustices in our community. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. Okay, now we're going to hear from what you all came for. Sister Simone, I would like you to come up and take over and make your introductions of the next speaker.
All right. Thank you so much. How great to be here. Our umbrella is so excited that it just was jumping up in the air. As our sisters and others are gradually heading to the moving shade, we will speed this up. I've got to introduce one of our allies in D.C., a man that you all from Albany know really well, but Congressman Tonka is like he is an anchor in a bit of chaos. You all have the port down the way. Well, we think of his office as kind of the port of sanity in some difficult times. And his awareness of not only the needs of his district, but his needs, the needs of the nation, are so important, and a reason why he always scores so high on our voting record that we do every January. I also want to acknowledge that before Pope Francis came, we had a chance to be together and try to think about how can we lift up Pope Francis's message. And what I realized as I was sitting here, we didn't need to have that conversation. He's already doing it. So it is my great honor to, I can't introduce you. What can I do? Invite you up to speak to your people, Congressman Paul Tonko.
Is she not wonderful? Let's hear it for Sister Simone. Come on, we can do better than that. Show them what Albany's about. Thank you, sister. Thank you. Certainly, before I offer my comments, I just want to speak to my friend and brother. Where's Willie? Did he leave? Willie, if it's not Reverend, it's Reverent with a T. And thank you for sharing some of those wonderful, powerful words from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I believe those words resonate as powerfully today, as essentially today as they did when they were first uttered. So thank you for that, and thank you for all of your advocacy, but it's great to be with you all. Now to Sister, the star of the show. Sister Simone, I love talking to her because she's this bit of inspiration, but she's also that kind of oasis that you search for. And her determination, her resilience to speak to social and economic justice, to make certain that outcomes that we can generate through our thoughtfulness, through our sensitivity, through our soulfulness, can lift all of us in the process. And so I want to thank you, sister, not only for the concept of Nuns on the Bus, but for engineering it and getting it moving. And you know, many of you know, I'm deep into energy policy. I used to be the Assembly Energy Chair, and now I'm on the Energy and Commerce Committee in the House, and Science, Space, and Tech. And we're constantly promoting energy efficiency, and that's through vehicles too. So we're big fans of alternatively fueled vehicles. But you know what? This bus is alternately fueled. Sister has the most powerful bus. It's fueled by people, and it's people power. It's people power. And it's why it will drive us all to the victory. Drive us to that finish line that enables us to say we have conquered. We have mastered this effort of messaging and reaching all hearts, all minds. We left Washington a few days ago for a 7-week recess with a mountain of unfinished business that could address, if we were wise about it, social and economic justice. And it's the progressive policies for which Sister and the Nuns on the Bus and the community gathered here advocate. Now, you know, there's that unfinished business. From income inequality to tax policies that favor the tremendously rich, the ultra rich, to unbroken sets, unbalanced sets of voting rights, to a less than functional, in fact, I would say broken immigration policy, to yet unfinished business to reach yet more of our people who are uninsured or underinsured for health care purposes. So the unfinished business is there, and the call for reforms, the call for action is now, and the nuns on the bus mean business. People business. And, you know, it's about us sharing the American experience together. And so it is important for us to go forward and make absolute certain that after this visit today, after that bus leaves Albany, that Washington continues to hear our voices. That absolutely. You may be 400 miles, we may be 400 miles away. Sister and I have met on the House floor. We've met at my friend Rosa DeLauro, Congresswoman DeLauro's house with Sister to advocate, strategize, and whatever. Make good trouble, as my brother John Lewis says. And if you're going to put me in company, you couldn't do better. Thank you, Willie. I love standing right behind brother John Lewis. Make trouble, good trouble, because our process allows for that. In a peaceful, civilized way, let's make our determination felt. And so the resources are there. The will needs to be there. And where we take this process of government and make it work in a budgeted way that allows us to speak to good, comfortable housing for all, to make certain that the need to update our Voting Rights Act is done so that the fundamental right to vote is maintained and guaranteed at the ballot box, that everyone has access to be able to vote. So it's those fundamentals of justice for which the Sister stands and which the nuns on the bus will continue to advocate. I'm so proud to be able to host Sister today in this capital region of New York, where we have been, I think, the inspiration for many reforms through our history. All sorts of movements that spoke to fairness and justice. So let's continue in that grand New York style. Let's link with the nuns on the bus. Let's make certain that we reflect our values in the budgets. Yes. That's what it is. It's the people's values, where everyone is lifted in the process, where we can all win in the effort as we speak forcefully to social and economic justice. It's the beauty of our system. It's the beauty of our system. And that when one hurts amongst us, we should all feel the hurt. And when we go forward, we will make certain that we reach to the tools that our democracy provides, and that we will continue to pursue until the people's work is done, and that the bus that is people-powered will arrive in the celebration in Washington to share in the glory of the work that we shall accomplish. Thank you so much, sisters.
Whoa, a people-powered bus. I hate to say it, but the first image I had was a gerbil wheel, and I'm glad that if that's not the case, that would be environmentally friendly, but a little exhausting for us. But I think that's the truth, because you know what? It's people-powered by you. You're what keeps us going on the road. We indeed are all a village being together. We know the work in the fields as we pass through your amazing agricultural land, and we have spoken generally of the struggle of immigrant farm workers, but now we know you, Martha and Eloy. Thank you so much for your witness. And Amanda, I think Amanda hid out with the kids someplace in the shade. Amanda's story of hard-working folks who work full-time for minimum wage but can't afford housing, and they get fired because they're going to have a baby. We heard yesterday in Buffalo or Erie, I forget, I get a little confused where we were. It's kind of an action-packed trip, but we heard about a woman who, it was yesterday because it was at the health center, who miscarried at work, but had to keep working and had to return to work the next day. I mean, that's wrong. And it's wrong that I drop my stuff. But it's wrong in the richest nation on earth that we can't care for our people. We know that we are better than this. And that's why we're on the road. To spread the word that under all of this mess that we've got, you kind of agree it's a mess, right? Now, all this income and wealth disparity, all of the lack of access, there is a piece of good news. It's kind of hard to see. You kind of have to squint and look carefully. But the truth is that the mess that we're in got created by policies from the 80s. The 1980s. That is good news, because what it means is policies can get us out of this mess if we insist, as we the people, that our politicians, like our good folk here, can make the changes. It's going to take more than just Congressman Tonko. Let's be real. But what we know is we have a beginning. And we're going to build, and we, the people, are going to, in the end, succeed. Because the truth is, it's not about Washington doing the thing. It's not about even the people in your state legislature, but it's about us being the village that cares for the 100%. We will be better as a people if we care for the common good. And that's why we're on the road. So we have a few resources for you, because many teachers, many of our sisters have been teachers through the end. I'm not. I'm a lawyer, but I still think education is a really good idea. So we have an education document for you that takes the two presidential candidates and compares their positions on our 7 gap issues. What we've discovered on the road is that you all are probably pretty clear who you're going to vote for, but we've discovered there are a vast number that we call the muddled middle. The muddled middle just don't know, because all they hear is the negative ads. They don't have a clue. And so we think maybe, while we almost didn't do this, this may be the most important document we do, because it is a factual presentation of where candidates stand. It's no hype, it's no negativity, it's just facts. So we encourage you to take one of these, share it. It's going to be up, I think it's up on our website. We'll make sure that you have as many as you want, because we want to get this in the hands of people in need. And then the second piece that we have for you is a commitment form, because what we want is to have you fill it out. Say you are committed to mending the gap. And then, come January, we're going to take the stack of New York commitment forms to your senators and say, we were in New York. We know your people. They signed up to mend the gap. And then we get to hand them one of these cards and say, will you sign up to mend the gap and follow your people? Isn't that kind of cool? I think that's fabulous. So fill it out, and then we invite you, after you've filled it out, to head back to our beloved bus back there and sign our bus. So by the time we get to the end of this trip on July 29th, after the Democratic Convention, is that it will no longer be nuns on the bus. It will be all of us on the bus to mend the gaps. That is where we need to go. Now, just one word about, we were just in Cleveland on Monday, Tuesday at the RNC, and we did lemonade ministry. We had 2 red wagons we pulled around downtown, and we handed out cold cups of ice cold lemonade. And the whole idea of lemonade is good at a picnic, and we wanted to create more of a spirit of friendship and encouragement and harmony. And so as we were passing out this ice cold lemonade, we asked 3 questions. to Republicans, and we took down their answers, and we're going to compare them when we do the same thing with the Dems. And the questions are this, you can ponder them, but who in your family is it difficult to talk to about politics and why? The second one is what worries you in this election cycle. And the third one is what gives you hope for our nation. I have to say, there were a lot of folks that we interviewed who answered the first two really fast, but didn't have a sense of hope. I think maybe the most important thing that we need to mend the gap is to bring hope. We hear hope from our immigrant people, we hear hope from Willie, we hear hope from Amanda, we hear hope from our sisters. We see hope in you. Spread it. Spread it with joy, because it is hope and the vision of hope that will change it. And while I do this work, and a bunch of us do this work because of faith, in our very diverse society where we meet is the Constitution, right? It's we the people. We the people have hope because we know we can form a more perfect union. We've got a lot of work to do between now and November 8th. And starting November 9th, we have even more work to do to make this reality. Are you game? Yeah. Are you in? Let's make it happen. Mend the gaps. Thank you so much for coming out. Sisters, my sisters will pass out all the, before you pass out, we'll pass out the cards.
Can I have one of the other ones too?
Sure.
Thank you.